The Sultan who fell in love with a singer, Abdul Hamid II, in the love story that shook the palace. In a palace filled with politics and conspiracies, Sultan Abdul Hamid II was the mastermind, a man unshaken by storms. Strong, devout, ascetic, and deeply committed to his religion. But, could a woman's voice really penetrate such a fortress? Could a singer captivate the Sultan's heart and become his advisor in matters of state? The story we tell today was never written in school books but whispered through palace diaries, passed down by servants and eunuchs for generations. Abdul Hamid II, one of the greatest sultans of the Ottoman Empire's final era. A ruler of sharp intellect and endless cunning, he followed the affairs of the state personally and knew Europe's news as well as the streets of Istanbul. Despite his absolute power, he was not one for luxury or women. Known for his piety, his prayers, and his effort to revive Islamic values within the palace. Even his eunuchs and advisors feared his gaze, for he missed nothing. But one cold winter night, the unexpected happened. One evening, the Sultan was resting after a long day of telegrams and reports, when a voice reached him from the next chamber, a warm, feminine voice, filled with sorrow and strange hope. The voice made him pause. He asked the guard, "Who is singing?" They told him it was a singer named Layla, brought in for a private evening for one of the guests. The Sultan asked for the song to be repeated. But listening wasn't enough. He ordered her to be summoned. When Layla entered, she was unlike other singers. She didn't grovel or flaunt her beauty. She was elegant, relatively modest, with confident eyes, and her voice still echoed in his mind. What began as a curious conversation soon surprised him. She spoke Turkish, Arabic, and French fluently, had read works of philosophy and religion, and kept up with European revolutions and news. At that moment, the Sultan no longer saw her as just a singer, but a mind worthy of respect. From that night on, Layla began appearing in the Sultan's private gatherings. She gave her opinion on cultural matters, and her perspective was unlike that of his ministers. The Sultan held her in great respect, though never publicly. She became his third eye. Or as some called her, the soft shadow whispering beside the Sultan. Soon, European embassy reports spoke of a mysterious woman influencing decisions in the palace. Within the halls of Old's palace, ministers and clerics began to complain. Why does the Sultan trust a singer? Why is she consulted in matters of state? Some accused her of being a spy. Others claimed she was a sorceress. But the Sultan remained firm. One day, he told one of them, "In times of betrayal, you may find loyalty where you least expect." He was referring to Layla. Layla didn't stop at singing or advising. She began traveling to Europe under the guise of cultural performances but carried secret messages from the Sultan to certain figures. She met with intellectuals and journalists and delivered precise information about European public opinion toward the Caliphate. She became the Ottoman Empire's eyes in the West. Through the voice of a singer. In 1909, Sultan Abdul Hamid II was forced to abdicate in one of the most complex political plots against him. He was exiled to Thessaloniki, where he lived in isolation, holding on to his dignity and faith until the very end. As for Layla, she disappeared. Some said she died under mysterious circumstances. Others claimed she continued living in Paris under a false name. But the truth remains unknown. Did Sultan Abdul Hamid truly love Layla? He never said so publicly, and she was never listed as a concubine in his private notes. But those who knew him noticed something had changed after her disappearance. a sadness in his gaze, a stillness that wasn't there before. Maybe he loved her. Maybe it was a bond of souls, a meeting of minds rather than bodies. But one thing is certain. She was the woman who dared to enter the Sultan's heart, and whisper into his ear. On a winter night,